Oh, Bruce, it looks great. I think the outside has been painted, and now Bruce is slaving away, aren't you, Bruce?
You got it.
Are you gonna make me pay you extra for being on camera and not just painting?
Well, I'm on strike, so don't.
Oh, he's on strike. Oh, that's right. Actor strike. But he's painting the inside now. Now, one thing that I did find, he was touching up some other areas, and in the front we got into something that turned out to be a little bit, well, it required a lot more work than we thought it would. And I'll show you that in a bit. But in the meantime, I think these windows look absolutely fabulous. I love the way they harmonize with all of the other windows now and with all of the other Vater Cottage Gray. Stuart, right here, let's put up that formula again that people have asked for because they want to know what the color is, and we will share that with you. But I cannot wait for Bruce to get finished, for really everything back here to be put into place. And it's now in a state of chaos once again because we've moved things around to accommodate the painting. I've also gotten a few more plants that will grow in the ground. So I wanted more. I found a great deal on some Green Mountain boxwood. Those were, I think, like $26. I got those at Lowe's. And I want more of that rounded, mounded form back here. And visualize, if you will, what all of these will look like when they all grow together and are kind of neatly clipped. I'm especially excited about, Stuart, if you don't mind coming over here, the things like that are gray, that I will clip into mounded, rounded form. So this is just that common Poes Castle Artemisia, but I'm going to keep it very pruned. And so I'll have this just really soft mound that will be gorgeous, I think, working in tandem with the other things that I've got planted here. And then again, the repetition of these little villages with the Dragon Prince Cryptomeria and the hollies and the ajuga, these same villages, the little coconut butterfly candy, these same villages are repeated at other areas around the brick patio, and they'll eventually cascade over the side of the patio and will kind of obscure the edge, which is something that I've been wanting to do. And all of these will get in the ground, and just as I'm having to probably bring inside some of the tender plants, these will all be in place and will start spilling out. Now, one thing I haven't talked a lot about because I've just been working on the in-ground plantings and I haven't done as much of it, and that is the things that are going to be displayed on my plant theaters. So when I found the good deal on those other Green Mountain boxwoods, I found the great deal on these. These were $10. They're already in a slight rounded shape, and I'm going to clip these into small balls because I want them to be here on this boxwood theater. And I'll show you how I overwinter them because they are in smaller terracotta pots. I did a video at the other house how I overwinter them and try to protect them in their smaller containers over the winter, and I will show you that as I get to that point. These I haven't even potted up yet, and I'm sure that's a video that we've got coming up. So this will all make sense, and I'll have all of the outdoor lighting staged, and all of that will look more kept and intentional, and I will be happy about that. The greens are starting to grow. It's been, I think I mentioned, I've been gone. I was gone for almost a week, and I just couldn't believe, even though the temperatures have moderated some, how dry everything still looked, and it's because it's been so windy. And we can kind of hear the wind in the background today. I think we've got a couple more days of wind, but at least the temperatures have cooled. And so I'm looking forward to having a few veggies that maybe I can harvest. The snap peas are starting to grow up the tutors, and I've got and you love it. I've got little punches of color, but again, all of this will look more intentional and more styled once everything gets back in place. And certainly by next spring, I think it really will. So one of the things that I'm kind of thinking about at this point now for the back is when we get to the front, I'll show you my ideas for where I think I'm going to be planting my tulip bulbs. But in the back, I'll probably have some minor bulbs and things, and I'm trying to decide where I want to locate them to, well, just to make them look as if they fit into the scheme and into the design that I've got going back here. It may be that I do what I did at the other house, and I have certain places where I just have large pots of them, and I plant them in the pots and over them in the winter and then bring them back out in the spring. I said last week that I was getting ready to make some pesto and harvest the remainder of the pesto, but I just frankly ran out of time before I had to go out of town. So I definitely will still be doing that. And I'll start taking more cuttings of the coleus and things to bring in, because before too long, I think our average frost date, Stuart, do you know our average first frost is?
Should by now.
Yeah, it should be by now, by October 15th. Did we get a little hint of a frost while I was gone?
I mean, I don't think it ever broke fully, but 40 is a little under 40, yeah.
Yeah, and because I could tell some things like the Joseph's coat looked a little
cold in the morning, I can tell you.
Yeah,
that.
cold in the morning. So yeah, so it kind of nipped some things, and so anyhow, all of that will have to be addressed. I am so looking forward to having not a lot on my plate for the coming weekend, and I am so looking forward to being able to just work out in the yard. So my friend Carolina Elizabeth came by yesterday, and she brought me, and I need to water this little guy, she brought me a number of starts of things. This is just a gorgeous sage. I love its foliage. Love the way it smells.
So cool looking.
Yeah, we're channeling turkey, aren't we? Yeah. And so I'm going to plant this back here somewhere. So I've got just lots of little things like that to do.
Took me a second to get the channeling turkey. It got me. It's good.
Oh, you got it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
like the country turkey. Oh, the turkey.
The turkey, yeah. Yeah, I thought we had more of a shorthand than that,
We
Stuart.
do.
That we could read each other's minds.
That one got me.
One thing that I'm also looking forward to is we will be setting up the solo fire pit and the surround, and we will get all of that in place, and hopefully we will show you that pretty soon. Everything just kind of takes a little bit more time always than I would like, but that's okay. I need to just take a chill pill and realize how fast in the scheme of things it has really all fallen into place. But there's a lot more to do back here. And then I'm just going to cross my fingers and hope that maybe the weather is good enough that we could have Thanksgiving outside. If we don't have Thanksgiving outside, definitely beforehand, my neighbors are going to come over. I think I might make some of that chicken chili rice soup that I've made in the past, and I'll save you some, Stuart, and have that whole family over here, and I think it'll be kind of fun. While I was in North Carolina, and sadly I didn't get to do as much as I wanted just because it was hard for me to bring back, but I did forage some things on my sister's property. Look at this gorgeous reindeer moss, and this just makes me swoon like nothing else. Look at these. Whenever there is a twig that still has pine cones attached, that just makes me just so happy. So I'll be doing some things, and just some really gorgeous pine cones and turkey feathers. So this is just fun foraged finds, FFF, fun foraged finds, compliments of my sister Terry in Nebo, North Carolina. Thank you, Terry. I had so much fun there. So that's kind of what's going on back here. There's still more things to do. I said the other day that kind of my last thing to do was for the backyard was to get the windows painted, but actually the last thing will be to finish the gate over here and the surround for the air conditioner. And that kind of just depends on Kayla and her schedule, but we'll be doing that. And then it's just nothing but fun. Then it's just nothing but fun and sitting out here and enjoying the ambiance of a backyard living room, which was very much my design objective for this space. And I really do love the way it comes together. Oh, and one final thing that is just taking some time, and that is the railings, because there's a long lead time on getting the wrought iron railings in. So I keep saying that it's finished, and to me it is. At each stage, that stage is pretty much finished, and then there'll be another stage that's finished. But ultimately, we will get to the final finish of it, and then it's just nothing but play, and ultimately putting the garden kind of to bed for winter. The other day I said bed to garden. Because we do this in one take, guys,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like live. And sometimes my words get cattywampus. So okay, let's just kind of do a little, if you want, just a little 360 of the mess that's back here. Oh, I do want to show you something. Because look over here, Stuart. I'm just noticing it. It's a wonderful surprise, because I'm still just checking on things, getting back into town. But look at how these azalea topiaries are putting out a fall bloom. This is one of the, I think it's autumn chiffon, but I love it. And these haven't received a whole lot of TLC this year, but by next spring I think they'll be magnificent. Everything, once it gets settled in and has a chance to really establish some roots, and then put out some foliage and top growth and things, I think that's when it will start to more closely pair up with kind of what my design image was to begin with. Okay, Stuart, you want to run to the front for a minute and kind of just show what's going on there? Let's do it. Well, Stuart, let's do a pan of the garden, if you would. And if it looks less congested to you and less overgrown, a little less wild, it's because it is. I have, in the past, a couple of gardening sessions that I have had time to work out in the front garden, I've been removing a lot of things. I've been removing the zinnias, which finally succumbed, or were starting to succumb to powdery mildew. They went all summer without having much of an issue, but they started to look less than their best. So I did one last splash. I cut a huge bouquet of zinnias that I'll be making an arrangement with, probably, and bring you along for the ride. But I wanted to pull all of those out, and so I had a huge stand of pink zinnias in here, and I have pulled them out, and I kind of like the way it looks when it's not quite so congested. But in the process of pulling out a lot of stuff, look at this. Look at what I discovered under here when I came back from my trip. And I have no idea.
What the heck?
I know! Isn't that spectacular?
Ooh.
It's a dahlia.
Oh, wow.
Look at that one,
Big.
and then I know it is big. Let me get back down here and look at this one.
Wow.
And I have no idea what variety it is, because this was one of them that that my friend Carolina brought by, and I planted this earlier in the year, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. And I have never done a lot of dahlias, but she was telling me that she finds that they perform a lot better when she grows them from seed, of all things, rather than from tuber. Anyhow, it's just
Right.
it just amazed me, and they're just beautiful. And how fun for me to come out here
Yeah.
and just kind of find them unexpectedly. There's another stand of yellow ones over there and one lone pink, and they're also doing well. They need a little bit of deadheading. And so I will work on that. One thing I am going to do is come back here, and you can see particularly in that area where I planted the sedum autumn joy that had been in a pot, and I planted that in the ground. And you can see where the mulch has been scuffed. So I'm definitely going to come back here fairly shortly and put another layer of mulch, of that Happy Grow mulch that I get at Lowe's, and I'll put another layer of mulch on before everything kind of gets nestled in. Stuart, let's take a break here, and then we'll go to another part of the garden. Well, it's really been a fun beginning of the week because Jim Putnam from Hort Tube, North Carolina, has been here, and we've been shooting some videos in front of the cottage. And one of the plants that I talked about a lot was the butterfly candy. This is little lavender, and I've got a little grape tucked in here. But look at how profusely it's still blooming. It's still blooming its head off. And this is without my having been here to do any deadheading, any grooming really at all, and it is still just pushing out tons and tons of blooms, and I love the way it looks. And so, and I also like the fact that, yeah, isn't that gorgeous? And I also love the way it looks because now that I've removed primarily all of the pinks and everything, I have just this wonderful quieter palette of this lavender and some of the chartreuse yellow from the Sunshine ligustrum and just some whites, and I think it's just very, very pretty. And it's just a calmer, it's just kind of a calmer look. Now, some of these some of my perennials I have cut back. I cut back the milkweed. I've cut back some other things. And that's not absolutely necessary. I'm not really doing it to clean up the garden. Excuse me, to clean up the garden. I'm doing it because I really want to see what space remains for when I get ready to plant those hundreds and hundreds of tulip bulbs, and where they will go, and where I might need a little bit more winter interest, i.e. evergreens, to ground the upper terrace for the winter. Because again, this is my first season here. I'm not really sure what's what. So I want to see exactly where my negative space is, where I can plant bulbs, not only tulip bulbs, but also some alliums where I might want to plant some, maybe a few snapdragons, maybe some pansies in the way of annual color that will overwinter until next year. So, and look at the way, Stuart, if you can look behind me, look at how that kaleidoscope abelia looks. I'm loving the combination of all of that salvia. Some of it's Maynite, some of it's East Friesland, some of it is just unknown varieties of the purple salvia, and it just looks great. But look at the flowers on that kaleidoscope. It is simply, simply gorgeous. And the fact that there's kind of a color echo with the blooms on that, and the pumpkins, I think is really, really, really spectacular. So I'm very pleased, even being gone for a week, even though things were a little bit dry when I came back. A couple of you mentioned, well, why didn't Hubs water for you while you were gone? Well, Hubs was with me, so it would have been hard. And I did have people who came and watered while I was gone, but you know what? It was, I guess, so windy last week, Stuart, and still kind of hot. So that's always a danger here on the Great Plains. Let's take another break here and we'll go to the other side. Well, as long as Bruce is here, I always have him, I really kind of just take a look at my woodwork indoors and out in general to see if there's anything that while he's got that color out, he can touch up. I think that's wise words. So, and then I'll probably also have him take a small amount of the paint and put it in like a squeeze bottle or just something so that I can readily access it without having to go down to the basement, get a great big, paint can, locate it so that I can do some touch-ups myself. But asked him to touch up these windows in the front, and then we realized that, oh boy, this needed more than just a touch up. It needed some glazing work and some other things. So he's in the process of scraping off lots.
I didn't remember it looking scraped.
Yeah, no, he did all this yesterday. He's probably got a little bit more scraping to do. This is the never-ending thing of not just old houses, but really just houses in general that you constantly, the downside of home ownership. So he's going to be working on that. So these will all be fresh and will look good going into winter, because I want to take care of as many of these things as possible. On this side, which is the west side of my garden, you'll notice that all of the zinnias, all of the celosia, all of that has been pulled out now, and it's giving plenty of room and sunlight for what have kind of looked to be rather sickly foxglove. You can see the drift through there of the foxglove. Man, it is so appreciated having the sunlight and the space and probably additional water. Yeah, look how happy they are now compared to what they were before. This was a clump that I transplanted that was drooping and complaining about being transplanted, but now it's happy, it's standing up and flying right. And then I have a lot more clumps of the foxglove that now it's cool enough. And I'll be positioning the rest of it now that I've got an idea of where my blank spaces are and how it will all fit together, so that there will be, for example, room for the foxglove to come up respective to whatever the tulip foliage is at that point in time and the foliage of the other things. I'm also looking at, do I need to edit out anything else? And at this point, I don't think I'm going to take out any more plants, but I do think some of them I'll say, oh, this needs to have a hard prune next year. I probably, as this is getting taller, this native, I'll probably limb it up so that it does what the Rose of Sharon that I moved to the other side does, where it just opens it up, has more of kind of a vase-like appearance so that I can plant things underneath it. I'll be so sad, but pretty soon I will be taking out the boxwood basil. As you can see, I'm not pruning it anymore. All of this I'm going to allow to go to seed, and I should have a considerable amount of seed once it does. And boy, I can smell it. Yeah, isn't it great? And that I already let go to seed, I have just kind of gone like that in some pots, and it germinated immediately. So I should get some really, really good quality seed out of this. I will probably give one last deadhead to all the salvia, all the pentas, all the lantanas, because I think we've got enough warm weather ahead that I could get one last big profusion of bloom, maybe to kind of close out the year before Halloween. The witches are nestled all snug in their the berm or the sloping terrace in front of the upper terrace, and I just really like it. The butterflies are still just as active as ever, and obviously they love the Budleyi. And I don't think this diamond frost euphorbia has ever been more beautiful than it is right now. I have two big clumps on either side. So in my garden journal, and by the way, this weekend I think I'm going to do a segment on what I like to garden journal, an example of how I do it, and just some different ways that you can use a garden journal in your gardening escapades. But I'm going to be recording what absolutely were my favorite annuals, and definitely the diamond frost euphorbia, the pentas, the lantana, the scaviola, and all of the Joseph's coat. I'm not sure what the plural of that is, makes the cut. Now, one thing, when I get outside here this weekend, I am going to be pruning back this Joseph's coat so it is much smaller in volume and smaller in size because, yeah, these are these yellow guys. You can see, this is what made me think, Stuart, that maybe we did get just a little hint of a frost because it's kind of brown on top, but yeah, kind of crispy. But I will cut that off and get ready to dig these up because I do want, since they reach such a size and girth, I really want to see if I can overwinter these.
And I like this guy who's only halfway gone yellow.
Oh yeah, this guy, he kind of is variegated and reverted back.
He's trying to promote Sprite or something.
Yeah, I know. It's right. It's lemon lime. It's lemon lime Sprite. And then look at this. I really haven't showed you this much, but I've been trying to keep it. I planted it a little bit too late, but this is purple. This is kind of a purple glow basil, and I think next year I hope to have it in as almost as tight. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Can you smell it?
Oh,
Here,
wow.
let me stick this in your nose.
Yeah, that's cool.
Almost as tight of a ball and numerous balls as I had of the boxwood basil. But look, I mean, just this kind of stuff. The light is just beautiful right now.
Oh, yeah, the color.
But just look at how gorgeous that is, these together. So these are two really, really tough plants that could handle the heat that I think harmonize beautifully together. This is my thing, Stuart, where I like to make little tussy-mussies.
Tussy-mussies, gotta bring it back.
Tussy-mussies to see what things look good together. And so then I can come out here and this will tell me that.
Did you see the tussy-mussy I sent you the other day?
I did, and it was beautiful. Was that one of ours from the past?
That was one from the old house.
Okay, looky here. Look at, I mean, doesn't that just make you smile?
It does.
You're so indulgent, Stuart. Thank you.
It does.
But it does. It's just pretty, and I love this color sway. And then if you just want to pop it up, like this is the kind of thing I might record in my journal. Oh, this combo is really, really beautiful. Then you add white to that.
Well, have you told them lately about doing this, taking this to the store with you?
Yeah. A lot of times I will take this to the store for me and I'll see if I can recreate. And it's not just the colors that look pretty together. It's the different textures and how they play off against one another. So look at it this way. Is that good enough light for you, Stuart?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. And then look what happens when I add this to it and it becomes more delicate. And so these are ways that you can create little tussy-mussies, AKA handheld bouquets, and you can think, ooh, if they look good together in my hand, they will look really good together in the garden, and indeed they do. And so I could take a little picture of this with my tiny little camera that prints out the images immediately that I can then put in my journal, and then I think it'll just be beautiful, and I can remind myself, oh, this looked pretty last year, so it will probably look pretty this year. So, Stuart, should we end on that?
I think so.
I think that's a pretty.
Let's end on the shot of the whole place here. Let's do.
Okay. Yes, do your thing,
Leah's in it,
but be careful walking backwards. You guys always comment that I'm telling Stuart, be careful, be careful. There's Leah in her October caramel. And from the little cottage on the hill to wherever it is that you garden, enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Please be safe. Please be kind to one another and think of somebody who isn't quite as fortunate as we all are. You guys take care.